Hello, and welcome to High Key Growth, the podcast for early stage founders, solopreneurs, and marketers looking to achieve rapid growth while running lean. I am your host, Gina Gregorick, and today I have with me Erin Weaver, who comes to us with some really exciting experience coming from the New Yorker, Vox Media, New York Magazine, Thrillist, Men's Health Magazine, and a slew of others. Today, she is the VP of Audience Development and Strategy over at The Information, and we are very excited to have you, Erin. Welcome to the show.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
Hello, hello. All right. So before we dive into the nitty gritty and put you in the hot seat, would you just give my listeners a little bit of background maybe on you and where you've been, just to give some context for the chat today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have more than a decade of experience. I think it's actually like getting up to 13 years, not to date
Oof.
myself, doing audience development and growth strategy for media companies. I've pretty much entirely been focused there full time. But then on the side, I've certainly consulted with tech companies, nonprofits, couple of smaller media brands. So I've kind of dabbled elsewhere, and so hopefully I can be helpful today. I mostly do what we call audience development, which is largely just taking data and insights. So I'm also a data analyst and translating that into tactical business strategies. It's a really interesting kind of unique space that media companies tend to be the only ones with firm audience development teams.
Hmm.
But at other companies, it's basically a combination of social media, growth strategy, business development, marketing, subscription strategy. Since being at New York Mag, the New Yorker, and now the Information, I really focus on selling subscriptions. So a lot of still like D2C strategy goes into what we do.
Hmm.
And yeah, a lot of social media. That's sort of the grassroots, but also SEO, newsletter, generally just thinking about how to talk to your audience and get more of them.
Very cool. I love that. I definitely think you'll be helpful today. So, specifically, I was excited to get you on because, for context for listeners, again, when we're talking about going to market with a new product, new software, whatever it is, we're always talking about demographics. Here's where we are. And you've hit a couple times in our previous chats on like demographics alone aren't enough. Audience development is so much more than that. And I think you've given a really good high level. Do you want to dig in a little bit more now? Again, you've been at some major media companies in the past and even now at The Information. So, like, how do you define audience development today more specifically?
Yeah, so the main thing is that audience development has looked different everywhere that I've been.
Hmm.
And it really just depends on what the business priorities are. The way that the business wants to grow is what I focus on. So when I was at the New Yorker, that's a subscription business. I was very focused on subscriptions. Here at The Information, it's a pretty even split between brand partnerships, selling ads, and in very specific strategic ways, and selling individual subscriptions.
Hmm.
So I take and kind of synthesize what is the business goals, and then I take a hard look at the data. I do like a deep data dive, and then I build a strategy that says, based on the data, which is essentially just signals your audience is sending you, here's what your opportunities are, here's what you're missing, here's what you could be doing more of. So audience development, I think, is just sort of like the fine art of combining business development and growth with the data that is signals your audience is sending you.
Hmm.
And when we were talking about audience demographics, like that's always absolutely a piece of the puzzle is understanding who's coming to me. But I think, and where I've built my career is better understanding your audience as they behave and thinking more about instead of just audience demographics, like, okay, I want, men 18 to 24, I want women in their 40s, like whatever it might be. Thinking more about, okay, sure, that's my demographics, but how do they behave? What do they want? What are they responding to? And what are they not responding to? And answering those four questions tends to be really effective at finding your people because
Hmm.
sometimes they might not cleanly fit in the demographics that you're trying to target. And so leading with more of connecting to the behavior that you want and finding people who are behaving the way that you want, and or want whatever it is you're selling tends to be, I think, more effective than just strictly saying, okay, I want, people in this state or in this country in this age demographic with whatever income, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that something you said that I'd like to call out here is this isn't just for consumer marketing either, because you've
Right.
mentioned you're doing this on both the consumer side, subscription piece, but also on the kind of business development, targeting other companies, B2B. And so understanding buyer behavior intent is really important, whether you're talking to someone with a company or an actual consumer that you're trying to get to buy or subscribe to what you're selling.
Yeah, 100%. And there's, you know, data streams that will come in for individuals that's like largely on, right, your social media, your newsletter, even SEO, that tends to be more of an individual. And then more on the enterprise side, there's a couple places that you can go specifically to find them. Sometimes, obviously, it's like talking to your existing vendors. Hey, where do you get your news? What newsletters are you subscribed to? That might be somewhere I want to place an ad. But also kind of building different streams specifically for those two targets can be really effective. That's what we're doing at the information. So we have like conversations that we'll have with advertisers, and then we'll have sort of very broad funnel to collect our individuals. And that's where like social and search can be more helpful.
Right. And so you said that social is big for you right now. Is that just because modern day, that's where you can find most people? Is how has that evolved across your different roles, like over time and also over different companies that you've worked at?
Yeah, so I mean, I used to work for what we called social first companies, where like social media was their business. I used to be at a company that owned the dodo, which, if you've ever seen a Facebook video that's like, this dog was sad and then it got adopted and now it's happy, that was the dodo. They pioneered that. And then now this, which also used to do a lot of like news video. They've totally pivoted since, but um, social media was the business. Like getting followers, getting views, that was how we monetized. We made ad revenue and it was like a lot. And so I was all in on social. That was all I thought about all day. I had a team where there was one person dedicated to like Snapchat, one person dedicated to Facebook.
Oh, wow.
You would never see that today. That does not exist anymore. The like social ecosystem has just totally evolved. And now I really think about social as the very tip top of the funnel. And same with search. Like that is where you are going to get, you're going to try to find brand new, fresh people and begin the very beginning stages of a relationship with them. And when you're thinking about like enterprise sales, the people that you're selling to are also on social media. And so you can absolutely still find them there. And then the individuals, it's just like a shorter journey to kind of get them to convert. But I really think about social at, the New Yorker and now here at the Information, we think about it as this is our opportunity to kind of say, hey, nice to meet you. I'm the Information. At the New Yorker, slightly different because like most people have heard of the 100-year-old magazine, but it was more about just getting to build that relationship. Follow us, see more of our posts, see more of what we're doing, what we're writing about. Um, just focusing on pure engagement. And you kind of have to, I had to kind of train some of my senior leadership to understand that like we are not selling subscriptions off of organic social media. Paid social has a time and a place. I'm talking strictly like running an Instagram account, running a Facebook page. Um, we're building a relationship. We're getting them to be aware of us so that when they see an ad or when they do a Google search and we come up or when they sign up for our newsletter from social and it's hitting their inbox, they remember the name, they know what we're about, and they're more likely to stay engaged in those other places that are much better converters.
Yeah.
So social's like tip top funnel, just trying to get people to like a post, maybe follow. That's you don't really expect people to leave social media platforms. Like someone opens Instagram to be on Instagram, they don't open Instagram to sign up for the information
Right,
most of the
right.
time.
Yeah, and I think I mean, social is extremely important today, but the nature of social has also just like drastically evolved. Like one of your end kind of leading indicators, KPIs, followers isn't actually as relevant as it used to be. And I don't
No.
know if that's like the age of TikTok or the way reels have become more prevalent, but
Yep.
I'm consuming specific creators months before I click that follow button because I just expect them to be in my feed because of my behavior.
Yeah.
And so even like the metrics you're looking at on social, you can't always rely on, okay, we're looking at followers. This is our goal. This is what we're going to see because you're engaging and nurturing before they even click that follow button.
100%. I think of follows as a mid-funnel engagement at this point. Like,
Yeah.
if someone's following me, they already have a relationship with me. We're just kind of like taking it to the next level. It used to be like, gosh, Facebook used to be a like, I would like any page if I related to the name of the Facebook group. Like, do you remember that? Like, that was,
Yeah.
those days are long, long gone. And it's absolutely the TikTokification of every app where the algorithms now just serve you stuff you're probably going to like, which has created a real challenge for accounts that want to do multiple things.
hmm
Um, this was really hard for us at the New Yorker because it's a general lifestyle publication. We would, one minute we're posting a funny cartoon, the next we're debuting a new game, and the next we're doing a, 10,000 word piece on the war in Ukraine. And it was really hard to get people to follow an account that's that much variety
Yeah.
because the algorithm didn't know what to do with us because they were like, they serve entire accounts to people that are interested in your entire account purpose.
hmm
And so the more like generalized your feed is, the more difficult it is to grow. So we're having a ton more success with the information. I'm having a great time because it's
Yeah.
like, you want tech news, follow. Very clear value prop. It's this
Yep.
one thing.
hmm
It's so much easier. And so when I'm like talking to anyone starting or even early in their account journey, I'm just like, have a really clear vision. Don't try to do 20 different things. Don't try
Yeah.
to talk about multiple topics. The algorithm is kind of boxing you into a corner, and just like the more you can commit to your corner, the more success you will have.
Right. And just because you do or talk about 10 different things doesn't mean that has to be your social identity. Like,
Right.
step back and you can think, like, here is who our target market is. Here is what is most broadly going to resonate with them. And we're going to stick with that, whether that's like
Right.
high level tech tips, starting a business tip, something like that, find that niche. And
Mhm.
then that could be your social doesn't have to be your whole, it's not like
Your whole brand.
personal social media where it is your whole brand. It doesn't have to be that.
Yeah, 100%. You pick like what is going to connect with your target social audience. So like who do you want from social media to know you? What do they care about? That's what you want to post about. And it doesn't need to be like it can be just like think about it as what is my brand? What is the version of my brand that's going on social? Like it's just a slice. Again, it's top of the funnel. You're just getting the introduction as they get to know you deeper and like join your newsletter or regularly visit your website or like follow your, brand persona account of whatever, join your podcast, etc. Then you can be a bit more well-rounded. It's just these social algorithms really push you into a corner.
Yeah.
Um, and the more you lean into that, the faster you'll grow.
Love it. So I want to pivot a bit here and talk a little bit about, we've had this conversation going already where demographics alone aren't enough. And so there's this whole piece of like buyer behavior and all these things that roll up into audience. I want to understand a little bit more like where are companies falling short when they're just focusing on demographics and how can they better kind of pinpoint audience behaviors and activity to target them better?
Yeah. Um, So I'm going to stick with the social media example solely because social generates a ton of data, but you can do this principle with your website data. You can do this with your SEO if you've got like a Google Search Console account. You can do this with your newsletter data. Anywhere that you are generating data, you can apply this strategy. Where it's never been easier to do odd dev, and I fear I'm putting myself out of business when I talk about stuff like this, but you can outsource, especially at the beginning, a lot of this stuff to an AI, to synthesize and process all of your data because these social accounts generate any social platform, but they generate an insane amount of data that's like more than the human mind could ever comprehend. And the more that you feed that into an AI and say, like, hey, here are my top 100 Instagram posts, or here's the entire history of my Instagram. Here's the caption, the engagement data, you know, the more tags and things that you can add into it and give that to like a chat GPT or a Claude and say, what are you seeing in terms of what's resonating? It will tell you every single time you post about XYZ topic, it does really well. The most important part of the prompt, I think, is following up with what's not working. What, like, every time I post it, it falls flat. What am I totally missing? It will tell you. Chat's a little bit nicer than Claude, so if you are feeling precious, go to chat. Um, it will tell you, like, people are not engaging with XYZ, and it could be like language, it could be the length of your caption, it could be the type of image that you're using. It could be time of day, like, but it will tell you very clearly people don't engage with this, and it kind of gives you a very nice playbook of like stuff to immediately stop and deprioritize, and then the stuff to prioritize more of. And what you can prompt to ask for, where we get into like the audience behavior, is like, what are these kind of trends? What's the audience telling me that they're interested in? And they're going to give you, it's going to tell you about the content. And that is where I think most of the audience like juice and magic is understanding this is a topic that my audience is really passionate about. And so I can infer that the people I'm really targeting and really engaging with, they care about this. They're excited about this. They're whatever it might be, whatever that content trend is, tells you a lot about the kind of person that they are. And then you can have a conversation with chat about this and say like, hey, okay, so if I'm going to use the information example, but so I'm like, okay, so most of the time that we post about OpenAI and Anthropic, it does exceptionally well. But when I post about AI agents and something like OpenClaw or vibe coding, it does terribly. What does that tell me about who's following me? And it will tell you, you have an audience that really cares about front. They care about these large AI businesses and how those businesses are doing. They care about their financial performance. They're not really interested in using AI to improve their day-to-day lives. Great. That's hugely helpful information that I can use to program a social media account that's going to better resonate with the people that I want to connect with, because I do want that audience. I want the people that are in finance,
Right.
that are C-suite, et cetera, and like really closely following these big companies. So that's really helpful for me. And so we've like totally scaled back on how much we're posting about AI agents, and like other companies that they don't care about. Like my audience is not very interested in Meta. So, okay, I'm going to post about Meta less. Things like that can be really helpful to help you find the people that you really want.
Right. And I would say this same thought process can be leveraged to almost like work backwards when you're building your social media to begin with,
Yeah.
because you might post something that resonates really well. You get way more likes out of nowhere. You're a brand new page, but you might later discover that that's not actually the audience you want to be marketing to, or maybe those are people with parallel interests, but they're
Hmm.
never going to sign. They're never
Yeah.
going to. So you can almost start to like use AI, use your research. I always say, like, talk to your customers. Like, these are
Hmm.
like the best case study for you is going out and your early stage customers, your beta customers, understanding what do you want to, even if it's a survey, what do you want to hear about? What do you want to learn more about?
Yeah.
What kind of, here's a list of like 50 things that we may or may not talk about. Can you check everything here that like might pique your interest?
Yeah.
And then start to write about those things. And then from basically start to finish, you're building content and an audience that you know is going to better fit your company. So it kind of works both ways, from
Totally.
backwards or forwards.
Yeah, 100%. And when building, especially when like kind of forward thinking in the earliest stages, you had this as a question that we were going to talk about later, but I'm jumping ahead.
Please do.
Uh, um, the main thing that is true across every company I've ever worked at, every industry I've ever consulted in, is that especially on social media, people are selfish, they're self-absorbed, they are thinking about themselves when they are scrolling. Use that. So people like the social media accounts that do the best are the ones that are solving a problem or helping people work through something.
Mhm.
So think about when you're doing these surveys, like what's our value prop? What's the problem that we're solving? How are we making people's lives easier, better, faster? And how can I create content
Mhm.
amplifying that I'm a problem solver? Those are the accounts that do the absolute best. Like
Mhm.
you've probably seen them because we're both moms. Like my account is flooded right now with like toy rotations and how to entertain a 16-month-old who can't talk but screams all day long at me. And how do I like get on her
Amen,
level?
sister.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Like those are the accounts that are doing well because they know what problem I have and they are helping me solve it.
Hmm.
Um, and that's like the whole point of a business is to sell people something. And so like, sure, sell me it, but what's the problem that I'm solving? And any content you can make around that. You have a problem, here's how I solve it.
Yep.
Those are the posts that will always do the best.
Right. I always say there are answers to their problems besides your solution. So you
Hmm.
don't always have to talk about that. You kind of got a couple things going in my head. So I'm going to jump around here. But
Great.
first, I will say, like, number one is when we're talking about using AI to do all of this. I just want everyone to know that like we come from a time where we used to do this with a spreadsheet. So we would be
Yeah,
sitting there like every post, every theme, every drop down, number of likes, number of contents, number of views. And so this is like a crazy world we're living in where you can just dump a ton of data and like you do have to audit it a bit, but
100%.
like the fact that this is possible now is absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's unreal. I'm so much more productive because I'm just removing the manual layer. And like, if we'd been doing this podcast conversation 3 years ago, we would have spent 20 minutes with me walking you through the meticulous steps of like how to create a taxonomy and tagging structure to yield accurate insights.
Yeah.
And now we can just skip that and say, that's why I'm like, just ask chat and it will do it for you. And you've saved yourself a lifetime of all these gray hairs that I've earned.
All right, everyone. Now we're going to talk about how to do a V lookup. This is how you do that.
The difference between a pivot table and a VLOOKUP, it like I talked about that a
I love
lot.
that. I know. We did that a lot. The
I'm kind of
world
understand
has changed. The world has
that. Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to throw out there, I'm kind of taking a tangent, but just for kind of listeners, another great thing when you're starting out your company's social too, a great accelerator is to leverage partners. So start to look for those business development relationships early on. They don't have to be like, hey, we have a referral agreement in place. Hey, we have something like this. It can be a matter of like, hey, we both talk about this. Let's do a co-webinar. Put out something together that we both share and we get tagged
Yeah.
in. And Meta, Instagram has that really cool collaborator tag now. And so
Yeah.
posts that somebody who has been around the block, who has 3 times as many followers, a million followers, however many, they can post something and that goes to your page. And then all of a sudden you're like tagged, you're a part of it. So there are little accelerators and cheat tricks to grow because I know early on in those first couple months, it can feel like you're just putting all this time into content and it's just like throwing it to the wind and
Yep.
no one's really seeing it. So
Yep.
there are tricks, but persistence, I think, is also just important.
It's a big one. There's a new Instagram feature I wanted to talk about that I love and I think people are not using enough. And I just think it's really cool. It's called trial reels. You do these?
Trials. I have not done these.
Okay.
Tell me about
They like
them.
buried it. You're gonna have to like I don't understand why they didn't make this a bigger announcement. It's a whole other thing. But trial reels, you post a reel and it only goes to people who do not follow you.
Oh,
Which
wow.
I'm like, that's such a hack. So if you have even like 100 followers and you're like, oh, I think it would be weird for me to post a like, hey, this is our brand and this is what we do, because it's gonna go to people who already follow you and are like, yeah, I know, because like that's why I
Right.
follow you.
Right.
And it won't do well. You can do this trial reel where it does not send it to your followers, and it's an amazing hack to like get in new people's feeds, and Instagram will like try to get it to people who might be interested. So it's like honestly Google it because it's hard to find. They
No,
really
that's
very cool
awesome.
feature.
I know. And then if
But
your page is like business or creator or like all the settings are different.
yeah,
And so it's like you're always kind of
so hard
digging
to
no
find.
matter what. Like
Yeah.
finding the scheduled content depending on what account I'm in is like not fun.
Oh man. Yeah, I just set up a business account for someone that I'm consulting with, and I haven't done it in like 5 years and it's obviously all new. I was like, this is the Wild West to me again. But yeah, it's called trial reels. They're so handy. And it will give you Instagram will like give you insights on how it did, whether people liked it.
That's
And then if it
awesome.
does super well, you have the option to then post it to your feed and then send it to your existing followers. But it's such a hack to like get in front of only brand new people.
Right. And it's a follower campaign. So you're not necessarily like beating your existing followers over the head with like, here's who
Right.
we are. Like they're like, yeah, we know.
Right. They're like, okay, thanks. Yeah, it only goes to people who don't follow you. And I think it's like I think there's an upside of like if it does well, it could go to like a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's totally free. Zero budget way to like market in front of brand new people.
Love it. I'm going to do
Yeah.
it. Let's try it out. All right. Let's pivot a bit. I want to talk a bit about the information where you're at now. So, your target market today is this tech forward founders, C suite. What
Yep.
have you found is the big difference about building for that group? Because that's very different from like the Dodo or Thrillist or some of your past
Totally.
thoughts.
It's completely different. I would say it's been a pretty big learning curve for me. Bless them, they're being so patient with me. Um, I'm applying all of the same principles, all of the same strategies that I'm always using of like interpret the data, see what's working,
Hmm.
go with God. But it is like that even just I'm being asked to advise on writing headlines. I'm like, I think I don't know yet how to write these headlines because everything, all of my instincts, I'm sure you said you like went to the homepage. All of my instincts are like, these headlines are word salad and I don't understand a word we're saying, but like
Hmm.
I'm not the target audience. And this is
Right.
the first time I've worked somewhere since I was at Men's Health in 2016 where I was not the target audience. Like I've always
Hmm.
been the main consumer, which has made it super easy.
Hmm.
And now I'm not. And so that's been a little humbling, and I've had to really recalibrate. And it's hard to like not be an expert on something and immediately have this instinct, but I would say they're very technical. They're very in the weeds. Like
Hmm.
all of my old advice of like no word salad, no acronym salad. Like we're all in on acronyms. You can absolutely use them. The more jargon, the better. They want to feel like they're the insider. You want to kind of talk
Hmm.
like you're an exclusive club. The best practice for writing a headline in general for at somewhere like the New Yorker is like you want to make it welcoming. You want to make it interesting, but every word in the headline, everyone needs to understand what it is.
Hmm.
So if it's like a name no one recognizes, you need to clarify who this person is first. So say like indie musician, whoever, not
Hmm.
just random name I've never heard of. Versus here, it's like, yeah, obscure CEO that I've definitely never heard of, but our followers are like, oh yeah, that guy.
Yep.
Like, and we do a lot of like finance stuff too, and I'm just there's so much jargon, and they are like all about it. The audience loves it, eats it up.
Hmm.
I think that's wild. Um, so that's been fascinating, and then it certainly trickles down to like I have the instinct, to make our social media accounts super friendly to as many people as possible.
Hmm.
The challenge there is, yeah, maybe we get more followers, but maybe they're not the right ones. And like we
Right.
only want qualified leads. And that's kind of new. So I've been sort of walking it back, trying to like use more of the insider language, make sure
Hmm.
it's, asserting our authority. We're tech's first and most trusted news source. That's what matters, not come on in, the water's fine, everyone can read this. It's like, no, no. It's
Yep.
only for the people who want and need exclusive tech reporting. So that's been a little bit of culture shock,
Yeah.
but I'm only three
Absolutely.
months in, so I'm adjusting. We're getting there.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how long it's been. No, so you're still super green there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you have to rely on the data now at this point, and
yeah,
it's tough too because I always tell my clients, especially when you're going to a new market and you're not in it, you need to appear like you're in it because
yeah,
it's not often that the founder of the company is 100% the target market. And
yeah,
so when you're especially I always say like in B2B especially like and you're in these associations, it is like acronym forward, really heavy. And you if you're going to be giving someone advice, you can't be like, "Hey ChatGPT, can you give me some tips on this?" And then like they know that they are the experts
yeah,
actually. They're the experts in
yeah,
what they do. So to give them value, you have to meet them where they are and then go above and beyond. And that's again
yep,
where I love like leveraging some like partnerships and network. And I always say too, for any individual founder, if you're building your own personal brand, this is kind of a sidebar because it doesn't relate to what we're talking about too much. But when
yeah,
you're building your own personal brand, it is so important to have a stance on an industry topic. So, like,
hmm,
this is my a hard opinion on this. I love if it's a little bit, a little bit controversial, a little
yeah,
spicy. Like that's how you're going to become memorable, and that's how you're going to kind of become. I hate to use this word because it's so buzzy, but thought leader is basically the word for what we're
yeah,
looking for here. That's how you become the thought leader in your space, is to be a little spicy, be a little controversial, and have like hard opinions that aren't just everything you're finding on Google. You have to show that your client is the expert and you have to show that you know a little bit more about something or else there's no value coming from you.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good.
We'll edit that out. Yeah, 100%. I think I'm really a phrase I always preached when I was doing odd dev everywhere until I got here is, and it's still true, is think like your users. So like think like your target audience. You want to be, you know, it's you want to be like authoritative, but not a know-it-all. You want to be, um, you want your audience to feel like because of you, they're the smartest person in the room, or they're the most interesting person in the room, or that if they read you, and whatever. And so think about that's obviously the media value prop is like, oh, if you read this, you'll become smarter, you'll become more interesting. But think about like what is your value prop to your audience of like if you use this tool, who do you become? And that I think can be really powerful, especially on somewhere like social media, which is such an aspirational platform.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, and I've now had to walk the walk and become a like think like user. So I'm going deep trying to learn everything that's happening inside of these tech leaders' brains. And this is a scary place. I'm totally out of my depth, but I'm learning a lot and I'm walking the walk. I'm reading every single thing we post. I am listening to the podcast. I'm watching TBPN, which is another acronym that's going to mean nothing to anyone here. I'm really immersing myself so that I can become the expert and be better at my job. And I think you nailed it. Like that's absolutely critical, in whatever space you're in.
Yeah, you can't be an outsider looking in. You have to
Yeah,
be in the know. Like, and that's a given. You have to put in the work to like become a part of the space. So
exactly.
jumping over to funnel, I want to talk a little bit because we are a marketing podcast, so we can't
Sure.
skip on the funnel. When you're talking about having a strong audience in your funnel, what does that look like? All the way from early stage, top of funnel discovery, down through loyalty, advocacy. How do you kind of measure like this is, strong audience build? Like, are there metrics to look at? What are you doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. That was what I did week one at the information was build out a funnel scorecard. And I'm tracking it weekly. Do whatever cadence feels right for you. But
Like that.
I identified about 3 to 4. You don't want to go overboard, and overwhelm yourself. So you pick the clearest signals, to support each part of the funnel. And I'm hammering social because I came in it to run the social team. So that was sort of like the first stop for me on my tour. And I made a social funnel scorecard where I said, what are the metrics that identify that we are succeeding every week and we are growing with upper funnel engagement? And for me, that's like post likes, very like the lightest touch is like impressions. Am I getting in more people's feeds this week than last week? Video views. Are more people watching us? We have a daily show, so that's important. Are more people watching us than they were last week? Engagements. Am I getting more likes and comments than I was last week? That shows me that I'm growing. Just pure top of funnel growth. And then I think about metrics for mid funnel is where it's a little bit more work that the audience is putting in to engage with me. That's how I think about mid funnel. Um, so that would be things like following me, actually clicking through to read an article because you've now decided to leave the platform you chose to open, right? I chose to open Instagram on my phone, but now I'm so interested in what's happening here, I'm willing to go to another website. That's a huge signal.
Yeah.
I don't consider that top of funnel. I consider site clicks mid funnel. I'm interested enough to learn more. That's mid funnel. And then I really consider signing up to a newsletter to be low, like mid to almost lower. I think that's such a big commitment. I know people hand out their emails willy-nilly, but you don't do it on accident. I've never
Right.
accidentally, unless my data has been leaked, I've never accidentally ended up on a newsletter. I've like chosen that I wanted that.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that's a really big signal, and I kind of consider that to be the bridge between mid and lower. So if when like anyone starting out or early stage is asking me like, how do I build a consistent engaged audience or like bandwidth is super tight, I can only invest in one thing, my answer is always, always, always newsletter. I think it's the best way to build and capture and like keep an audience. It's the only way to connect to an audience that is outside an algorithm. If you send an email and someone signed up for it, you're getting in their inbox, bearing deliverability issues. I think it's just like the best direct tool. So I consider that the bridge into lower. And then lower funnel is obviously regularly engaging with my newsletter and converting to whatever it is I want them to do. So the information that's either becoming a marketing lead, which is different than a newsletter lead, or subscribing.
Yeah. And I love I love deploying a newsletter or something similar because the age of gated content is dead. And so lead capture has just evolved. And
Yep.
so a newsletter subscription is such an organic way to capture leads without being too invasive
Hmm.
or maybe too gatekeepy, which is like so ick
Yeah.
nowadays. So,
Yeah. And you're like, you really, you get to talk to them on your terms. And that is golden right now. Like it is any social platform, you are subject to the algorithm. Like we talked about at the top of the episode, that you like need to kind of put yourself in a corner and you need to say like, okay, this sliver of me is what I'll show on social media to succeed in the algorithm. You don't have to do that in a newsletter. You can say whatever you want. As they start to recognize your name and what you offer, they'll just continue to engage. So it's that's where the opportunity is to be more well-rounded.
yeah, absolutely. And I think you kind of covered this already, but anything else about like what should brands be thinking about for you? It's like socials top of funnel, newsletters your middle of funnel you mentioned, and then obviously
Mhm.
conversions. Getting a subscription is your conversion. Is there anything else along that journey that you think brands should be thinking about, or that's maybe something that is oftentimes missed?
It's hard to say super broad strokes from there because I think social and newsletter is like everyone's got it to some degree or feels compelled that they need to have it. Everything else feels really optional, but if you have any kind of in-person element, I think finding a way to meaningfully measure and stay connected there is huge. We do like in-person
Love
events.
that.
I have worked with a couple of brands that like I worked with a hat store. She sold hats. It was like foot traffic in the store was lower funnel because it's like you came in and thinking about how to convert that and make sure that like if someone walks in your door, they leave on your newsletter list or whatever. Um, I think leaving reviews is often a big part of this that gets missed. Um, Especially if you've got an app or you've got a website or you have a brick and mortar where you can get Google reviews. I think review culture has had a weird boomerang where it was like we were so into review culture, like everyone had a Yelp account. Now I don't think anyone goes on Yelp, but it's kind of boomeranging back,
Yeah.
especially in this like AI advent where you want like a person to recommend you something that's become a lot more valuable, I think, than even a year ago. So if there is an opportunity, if there's anywhere for people to leave you reviews, really hammering that, I think is
Yeah.
super important.
I love that. And also just logos in general. As you start to close some maybe more marquee customers, getting approval to put their logo on your website, that
Totally.
like goes such a long way in establishing credibility so fast at a
Yeah.
glance without too many words on your page. Like it does so much for at least me as a consumer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the testimonials, I think, increasingly valuable. Like in this, where everything is AI, believing that like a human says this is valuable holds so much more weight to me than it did a year or two ago, where I didn't actually really care what other reviewers had to say. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, I'm on Reddit seeing what people are saying about couches. And like 2 years ago, I would not have cared.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even this goes for B2B too, because there's your Gartner, your G2s. People are checking reviews on those sites too. So this isn't just like a consumer thing, this is like
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what would you say? We're talking about newsletter a lot. What would you say actually drives someone to go from like a casual customer, maybe say a newsletter subscriber, to actually becoming an full blown, full stop subscriber or customer? Like, what is flipping that switch, do you think?
I think I mean, building a relationship over time, being willing to invest makes a huge difference. A lot of brands, and I even see this like at the New Yorker was doing this, where they think that if you just hammer someone with the same ad, you'll wear them down.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. And I really think it's like build the relationship, build the trust that it's like I'm an authority in this space. I have value. I can solve a problem for you. And I think what is absolutely paramount, especially in this like we're in such a digital noise era, having a simple, crystal clear value proposition will make all the difference. You have a
Yes.
problem, I have a solution.
Mm-hmm.
That's like I'm preaching this at the information with our marketing team all day, every day. Like this is a great example. We just we're roll anytime we like roll out a product, new product feature, new app feature. A lot of marketers have the instinct to say like, oh, text to audio is here, or like now you can listen to our articles, or now you can. We did this. The New Yorker did this. Like, oh, now there's dark mode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, that's you talking about something you did. That has nothing to do with me. If you frame it as now, like read in the dark, easier on your eyes, or
Mm-hmm.
like less blue light, less screen time, or listen while you commute, listen while you do your chores, like it's easier than ever to multitask and keep up with us. Those are all real value props that solve a problem in my life.
Value props, not features.
I don't care about your features.
Yep.
And yeah, that over and over and over of just like how, like I said at the beginning, your consumers, your customers, your social audience, everyone is selfish. They are viewing everything from the lens of me, just so
Mm-hmm.
natural. I do it too. Um, Tell them
Yeah.
this is how I'm going to solve your problem. This is how I'm going to make your life easier, better, faster, cheaper, whatever. That's what converts.
Yeah. I love doing the five whys exercise where it's like,
Mm,
why do you feel this way, or why, and kind of working down to the root problem
yeah.
that someone is experiencing, that root pain, and that's where you can really start to resonate. And I think your expertise on this is really valuable because at the information, you don't do any type of like trial or kind of like lighter, like
Oh,
cheaper subscription. It's like full commit. It's like you aren't committed or you are. And so
yep.
like your expertise on conversions, I think is really has to be really strong.
Yeah, it's a wild challenge, and I mean our CEO Jessica Lesson is a genius. Like this model absolutely works for this audience.
Hmm.
That's like either you want this or you don't.
Yep.
And it's our job to prove by headlines are the only thing people get from us. Um, Either you see this reporting and you understand that it's valuable or you don't.
Hmm.
And so our marketing emails, the ones that are the most effective are like we send an email that's like, here's some exclusive reporting.
Hmm.
You need this to do your job.
Yep.
Uh, Take it or don't. And I worked out a new tagline that I really like, which is we get cited a lot. People will like share our reporting. So like Bloomberg will
Hmm.
often share the information that like, oh, the information reported dot 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 is happening, or this company is in talks to acquire this
I
company
love
as
that.
per the
Hmm.
information. And we do these roundups every week that's like we were cited here, 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 here. And so I just put that in a marketing email and said, before it's everywhere, it's in the information.
Awesome. And you also don't have to be a publication to get cited. That's a huge thing too. When
Yeah.
you're running analyst relations, if you have tech, you have data. At
Yeah.
least like once a year, put out a report of like trends or something in your space. And that is such an easy way to get picked up and start to get some backlinking to your site. And so this isn't
Yeah.
just like a news thing. Like any company can
No.
do this, and any company should
Yeah.
do this.
You can I mean, any survey, if you're asking the right questions and your audience is giving you interesting feedback, you can turn that into PR.
Yep, love it. So what would you say is the biggest mistake you're seeing companies make when they're trying to grow their audience?
This is so when I talk about Odd Dev and I talk about social, people get overwhelmed because they're like, it's too much to do. This is so much. How am I going to do this everywhere? And I think the biggest trap people fall into is hearing me talk and looking at all these social platforms and thinking they need to do every single thing.
Hmm.
That is setting you up to fail. That is absolutely a trap. Figure out what you have the bandwidth for that you can do really well and commit to that. So I will see people that are like, they launch a business and they're like, I need an Instagram, TikTok, Facebook,
Hmm.
YouTube, X, Blue Sky, LinkedIn. I'm like, do you have four full-time social media people? Then don't do
Hmm.
that. Um, it's such an easy trap to fall into, but like pick the ones that are most likely to have the people that you want. So if you're trying to get professionals, go all in on LinkedIn. If you're trying to get, people who are watching videos, go all in on Instagram and TikTok.
Yep.
But like think about what your bandwidth is, what you can make, what you can do well, and then build your strategy. You do not need to be on every platform. No one expects that. As you scale, maybe add to the portfolio, but you don't have to start and you don't have to maintain 10 social accounts. Um, Pick one or two.
Especially because if we're talking with a lot of founders who don't have a lot of resources, so it's like
Right,
you're doing 50 million things, you can't do it all
right.
perfectly. I just looked up, I couldn't remember the author, but I love the framework traction. A lot of startups follow this, and so the concept is like you'll do like a shotgun approach, try maybe like 4 or 5 different things, see what gets the most traction, ding ding ding, title of the book, and then you double down and put all your efforts into that channel, and
Yeah.
then and you can test and iterate as you go. But like
Hmm.
if you're not sure where to go, that's a great way to do it. Invest a little bit into like 4 or 5 different things, and then
Yeah.
what doesn't serve you, don't do it
Yeah.
yet. There's a lot of things that companies can and should be doing eventually, but if you are a 5-person team, it's just not realistic, and it's better to
Yeah.
just do really well on a couple instead of just like throwing junk to the wind.
Yeah. The other big thing I'll say especially when you're trying to do a lot, and I've seen this with a couple of the like small businesses I've worked with, there's an instinct to like outsource to AI, and I 100% use AI. I absolutely think there's a time and a place for it. Where it's great, data analysis, building out workflows, internal documentation for processes, cleaning up your own inbox. Where it's going to actively hurt you is consumer and forward facing. So, like, I see a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to spin up a blog and I'm going to have AI write a blog post for me every week. No one's going to read those. No one's going to find them because Google knows if something is AI written and increasingly is deprioritizing and actually hurting you. People have good filters for it. They can kind of tell, especially on LinkedIn. There's like LinkedIn voice that is so clearly AI written.
Yep.
Um, and people don't like it and people stop responding to it. So I think like when it comes to using like stay creative, write your own content. Absolutely have AI, edit you. You can use it as a copy editor, but create your own content, outsource it for like internal processes, documentation, manual workload, content tagging. But there's a time and a place for it. And I see people will be like, oh, I'll just use AI to run my Instagram account. And those are the
It just
accounts that
doesn't
don't do
work.
well. Yeah.
100%. And you're just putting effort in for no reason. I mean,
Right.
I've recently committed to like, I've used AI to proofread my like
Hmm.
posts on LinkedIn, and I'm getting away from that. I'm like, I don't care if I have a typo. I'm kind of actually losing. I feel like my like creative ability to write is not as good as it
Yeah.
used to be. Like, I actually used to be like, pretty decent writer, and back in my marketing day, my like really
Yeah.
tactical marketing days, and now I'm like, man, like I'm like not going to be a good writer if I keep using this. And so
Yeah.
I've committed to like, I'm just going to write it. I'm going to do it in my voice. I'm also kind of like really like battling the LinkedIn voice and even like attire. Like I'm like just going to be me. I've worked at
Yeah.
startups. I literally show up to the office in sweatpants in the past. Like I'm just going to be me. I'm going to wear what
Be
I wear
me.
and talk how I talk. And we'll see how that goes on LinkedIn because I'm kind of sick of the two buttoned up anyway. So
Oh,
justice
yeah.
for the M dash.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, that's been a tough one because I lived and died by my M dash.
I did too. I know.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, it's me. So now I do two hyphens so that it's like,
Mm,
and I don't let it autocorrect it back into an M dash. I'm like, no, no, this is me.
brilliant.
I
Love
just talk
it.
like this. Yeah.
So I know we're coming up on time here soon, so I want to kind of jump down here. For founders who are listening, how should they start thinking about audience development as using it as an actual growth lever?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is wherever you are generating data, you can be generating a strategy based on that data. The data is just your audience sending you signals. It is a direct line between you and these like anonymous prospects, these, like very early beginning stages of building a relationship with potential customers. They are sending you signals of what they're interested in, what they like, what they don't like. And the biggest thing you can do is take that data and turn it into feedback for you. That's like a tactical strategy. And again, 2 years ago, I would have walked you through the steps to do this. Now I'm just saying, like, look at what's working based on whatever metrics are important to you. If you really care about your newsletter open rate, look at your most opened and your least opened newsletters.
Hmm.
That is your audience telling you what they want to read more of and what they want to read less of. And use that to build more of the thing that they're excited about and more of the problems that you're solving for them and less of the stuff that they're probably getting from somewhere else or it's too
Hmm.
generic or whatever. It missed the mark. Those are
Hmm.
the two clearest. Anytime I'm doing a data analysis for performance of content or whatever subject lines, social media captions, whatever it is, I'm looking at the top 25% and the bottom 25%. I think both of those are extremely
Yeah.
important. If you
Interesting.
can cut your lowest performing, whatever it is, your least opened newsletter subject lines, if you can eliminate them, everything is now doing better. Like it's
Hmm.
a rising tide lifts all ships philosophy.
Yeah, and also this isn't like a one and done kind of deal. Marketing and just like the world and how people consume and behave online and digitally is constantly evolving, and so like come up with a cadence to be looking at this. I don't remember which law it is, but the whatever variable you're improving for will improve,
Yeah.
but oftentimes to the detriment of other variables. And so it's
Yeah.
important to say like to look at what are we sacrificing. Okay, our open rate is way better, but now our click-through rate isn't good because people who maybe aren't in our target market are now opening it and they don't care about what's
Yeah.
inside. So
Right.
it's important
Or
to make sure.
you're putting too much good stuff in there and you got to
Yeah,
pull some out, you
there
know?
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Absolutely. And so let's see. With everything changing, we've talked about AI a ton and how that's kind of helped your process. Do you see anything else in the world of audience development? Aud Dev, I love how you have your little. That's so
We've
cute.
got our little lingo.
What should people be paying attention to now? Is there anything else at the forefront that's like coming down the pipe that you're seeing?
So I think the biggest thing, and I'm still watching because I don't know where this is going, but search is changing. Search is absolutely like so tumultuous. Brands that I've worked for that used to get 50 to 60% of their traffic from search, it has fallen off a cliff. It is not a great way to reach an audience anymore, because people are using AI to find answers and they're getting a lot more specific. And it's there's multiple schools of thought about like why this is happening, and search is basically getting worse as a traffic referrer. The
Mm-hmm.
main thing is search used to be super super important. I used to talk a ton about like make sure you have your tech SEO solid on the back end, make sure you're doing great, make sure you have a blog where you've got great H1s and H2s,
Mm-hmm.
make sure you are buying your branded search for your name so that it shows up. Search has changed so dramatically that like the playbook is totally different. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know where it's going to go. I think it's just something to kind of keep an eye on, because you want to be wherever your audience is looking for you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But I don't think that it's a great place to get kind of like brand new people the way that it used to be. I think that
Yeah,
that's moving into AI. I think that's moving into search, into social. Um, and I don't know
absolutely.
where it's going, but it's changing very rapidly. There's this new acronym of like AEO,
What's that?
GEO, like
Yep.
AI engine optimization, whatever.
A lot of
I'm skeptical.
EOS, a lot of EOS. I'm doing a presentation with a colleague of mine who is like an AI expert. We're doing an AEO presentation in July for anyone in Pittsburgh, but I don't have the date or info, unfortunately. But it'll be on Luma when we when
There you
we
go.
when we book it.
Yeah,
But
it's something to watch because I don't know how it's going to play out long term. We
Mhm.
don't have time to get into it, but I have a lot of thoughts about Google as a company and what they're doing. I don't know. I don't know where it's going, but
Yeah,
as a result, in my work and what I've been doing day to day is just I'm focusing a lot more on social and newsletters because those are pretty steady by comparison.
yeah, interesting. No, that's great. And so, thank you again for everything you've brought to the table here. Ton of great information. If
Yeah.
if anyone listening wants to get in touch with you or maybe has some questions, is there a way for them to connect with you or learn more?
Yeah, I am on LinkedIn and I basically accept everyone. Um, I'm an open book on
Love it.
LinkedIn. You can find me at Erin Weaver, or it will be, which that's my professional name is Erin Weaver. My married name is Erin Miro. I'm very confusing to be around. But I'm on LinkedIn as it's by BY Erin, Erin Weaver. So it's like a byline because I used to be a journalist back in the day when I committed to my LinkedIn URL.
She does it
Um,
all.
and I'm sure it'll be linked somewhere in this for people. But
Linked
yeah, shoot me a note that you heard me on the podcast and we can connect.
Absolutely. Link in the bio on the website, and then I will get it on all the Spotify's and all that as well. So you'll have
Great.
a chance to connect with Erin and learn a little bit more. Erin, again, thank you so much for coming today. This has been so fun.
Yeah, I had a great time. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.